My first experience of hearing about our Blessed Mother was not a very positive one. I associate it with evenings when we would gather to pray the family rosary, and I would often get a swat on the behind because I wasn't paying attention to the rosary, but trying to read the newspaper that was lying on the couch. And so Mary, for me, and the rosary was associated with a gentle, maybe sometimes not so gentle, spanking. She's become more positive in my life since. Close your eyes for just a minute, if you would. This past week, I attended a meeting in St. Louis, and at one of the reflections at morning prayer, the priest led us in a reflection that involved a bit of Christian imagination. Imagining that family, Joseph, Mary, and Jesus, in those first 30 years of the life of Jesus. How they would gather around the table, reading the Jewish scriptures, sharing some faith, we imagine, laughter, joy, sharing how God was present in their lives, how they had experienced Him that day. Perhaps you younger parents in our audience tonight are simply happy when you can get a few of the children together, and hopefully the mealtime can be a happy one, maybe one where even a bit of faith is shared. I think these early moments in the life of Jesus, up until the time he was 30, if you have a child who's 30 and they haven't moved out yet, be a little more gentle with them, perhaps. But I think the significance of what happened in those 30 years is described so vividly by St. John at that wedding feast of Cana. Do whatever he tells you. Mary talking to the servants, trusting after she shared those 30 years with Joseph and Jesus, trusting that he knew what was best. Trusting that his mission was now about to begin. Faith-filled in her heart, coming to know her son after this long period of time. Do whatever he tells you. If each of us could utter that honestly and more readily in our lives more often. She wonders in her life where he is for 3 days. He's lost in the temple. Neither her nor Joseph know that. Can we imagine how distressed a parent would be not knowing where the son is or daughter for 3 days? She witnesses his crowning. She sees that he is often rejected in his preaching, misunderstood, walked away from. People think he's crazy at times. She sees him crowned with thorns, and she sees him crucified. Artists sometimes picture her as downcast and meek, frail, fragile perhaps. And yet we all know that women are the stronger sex emotionally and spiritually, don't we? Except for the men in the church here tonight. She was, I think, strong in her faith, in her understanding of what Jesus needed to do, what his mission was about, and she supported him fully in whatever he knew he must do. Do whatever he tells you seems to be her message, not just to the waiters at the wedding feast of Cana, but to all of us. Do whatever he tells you, and your life will be happy if you seek his will in your lives. I like to believe that she was there at that Pentecost that was described tonight in our first reading from the Acts of the Apostles. That she was there and saw how afraid, how timid these disciples were, these close followers of Jesus, not wanting to go out and proclaim that good news, afraid of what would happen to them, selfish perhaps. And in her heart was the strong desire to have this mission of her son carried out. This good news has to be carried on and continued if people are going to have a more meaningful and richer and fuller life. And so she was cooperating with the Spirit, I like to believe, the Spirit who came and helped those apostles become unafraid and more confident and go out and share that good news. Indeed, our theme tonight, her heart filled with hope at the coming of the Spirit, because she must have seen with her own eyes and wondered whether this good news would be continued after Jesus had died. Would they be strong enough to face the opposition, not to worry about what would happen to them, but to ensure that this good news would be shared? St. John Paul II rightly calls her the first Christian and the perfect Christian. She fulfilled entirely and perfectly in her heart the message that Jesus gave to us. Tonight, as we listen to the word, as we share in the bread that Jesus gives us, we are strengthened in that task as well. Each generation, each group of people are given that task that was given to those early disciples by Mary, by the Spirit at Pentecost. Her strong desire with the coming of that Spirit was that that good news would be given to others. It was the desire of Jesus. It was the desire of her heart. The bread that Jesus talks about in the gospel for tonight, I think, is his strong desire of not wanting to leave us. I want to physically stay with you in my humanity. And so he gives us bread and wine that become his body and blood. The word that we have heard, Mary as a prime example, the perfect example, because he knows we would need the strength to bring that good news to others in our day and age. May we be blessed by the word we have heard, by the bread and wine, the body and blood of Jesus that we will share, strengthened anew to bring that good news to others the way she did so effectively in her own day and time.